Hello and welcome to a special post-game. Curtis, we've had the PlayStation 5 showcase part 2. What are some initial thoughts? Before we get into all of what they just showed, what are some initial thoughts? Oh, also, by the way, Curtis is joining me today.
Hey, I'm here. Hi. Hello.
Hey!
I still live. Although after that show, who knows?
You have
Who
ascended.
knows what the future holds? I've ascended. Um, my soul will be mended in just a few short months, apparently. So that was crazy. That was a 45 minutes of just packed, just very few low points. It feels like, if any, depending on your taste.
Yeah, I hear you.
Kind of crazy. Crazy start, crazy end. This feels reminiscent of like maybe not 2015 level, right? But maybe like 2016 E3,
Sure.
where it was just like this was just insane.
Right.
Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I think it certainly had some low points we'll get to. I'd say like the middle of the show I thought was like, really? Like we're focusing on these couple things again?
Yeah.
But I was pretty impressed with. I'm still trying to like kind of check my own expectations. Like, was it really that great or whatnot? But I think they had a really good show.
I think a comment you made earlier in the year was like you're just waiting for the other ball, like you're waiting for the other ball to drop, right?
Yeah.
Like just waiting on like what's the bad part of this, right? And
Yeah.
still time.
I was gonna say there's still 2 months before this happens.
And I think there is stuff in here that is just definitely like, why? But I feel like the way the show ended, we'll get there much later on, but there's a lot of stuff in here that is like competition can be good.
Right.
Competition can push Sony to do things that are very good.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? And so I think both consoles coming out, like I feel like on both sides they're different goals, but like executing on them really well. It feels like my tastes just align here mostly, but I think if you're trying to sell us on a console, they pretty much did that. They did that and a bit more.
Yeah, I think so too. Specifically with the price at the end, I feel like they did a really good job justifying what they needed to justify, I guess, for the console. But this first one, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Collin, this one, it's weird because it's one of those things where like a few months ago there was people saying, oh, it was going to be there, it was supposed to be there, and the timing felt right. Like we've had rumors about this for a while now, and the rumors seem to be pretty spot on about like who's working on it, what it's going to be. So that's cool, right? And then, a few days leading up to this event, the rumors kind of came back, and it was like, hey, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. It's time. But also that, like, it's not that far off, which was the other key point. So Final Fantasy 16, we talk a lot about, like, the PS4 feeling like a different era of Sony, like an earlier era, like a PS2 era of Sony, where they're just, like, doing, crazy stuff, right?
Right.
Final Fantasy 16 looks like a different era of Square. Battle system aside, the combat obviously is much more reminiscent of maybe Final Fantasy 7 remake. But this game looked like 12. It looked like 14, which makes sense because it is many people from the Final Fantasy 14 development. Specifically people that like revived that game and helped build up and make it what it is today, which I think that alone is ridiculously exciting. Like if you're going to announce a new Final Fantasy and you want people to like have faith in it and be excited in it, despite my feelings on the last few entries, which I love, right? But remake, like 15's pretty split, it feels like, and I think remake there's probably a lot more people that love it than don't.
Sure.
But it didn't, it's still, there were people upset about that game, right? The 16, like, if you want people to be excited, you're going to have people working on it that give you a reason to and have a track record. And I think of anyone at Square, the people working on this game that we know of so far, right? And according to rumor, is like the people you want to be working on a new Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I'm kind of watching it in the background now. It feels like they were going for more of like a gothic style, which like, I guess what I mean by that is like, it feels like more like medieval, where like you could say like 15 was maybe more futuristic, same with 7. So that's why I almost like wondered for a sec. I was like, is this like fully Final Fantasy? But of course you see the Chocobo, you see the tentacle monster that's in all of the other Final Fantasies. So I mean, it was kind of a giveaway that it is 16. But I felt pretty impressed by this too. So 15 is on PlayStation now, and so I want to download that, want to play that. So this definitely has me interested. I like that tagline about like something about the crystals have, you know, you think like, oh, it's all about these crystals, but then it's like, now it's time for that era to end or something like that. And so it's like them trying to get rid of them, or, you know, it's like these things have been controlling us. We're trying to get rid of it.
So the character turns into Ifrit at one point.
Yeah, I know. Then there's like the Metal Gear Solid 5, the Flaming Man shows up. Whatever, the man on fire shows up and he's like turns into it.
That's what happened to him after the prologue of MGS5.
Yeah,
he time traveled a few years, or a handful of years, and here he is.
It's all the Kojima verse. So I think also the other biggest surprise, PS5 console exclusive. Were you expecting that at all?
So that was another rumor.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, I think, about a month or so ago. I don't remember who it was, but there was someone that was basically like, or let me backtrack. So right around the time of like, was it July? I think it was like June or July when we had the first PS5 event,
June.
right?
I think it was June.
June. So right around that time, I am forgetting names. I wish I knew them offhand to give credit, right? But there was someone who was like, yeah, you know, I've been hearing that basically Sony is just like throwing money to get like pretty big exclusives, and to build up a really like stellar first year, is what they were saying. Fast forward about a month and a half, there was someone else separately, you know, saying, yeah, I've heard that they're basically just like opening up their wallet and just picking up some pretty crazy third-party exclusives. And that person specifically mentioned that they thought Final Fantasy 16 was one of them. And, you know, you just kind of connect the pieces, right? And it, like, makes sense. I imagine... So Remake is in an interesting position, right? Where that is on PS4 exclusively. And it's been out for about 5 months, 5.5 months. So, like, we could theoretically, you know, see that game on Xbox early next year. And maybe we get an announcement about that in a few months. And, like, so I think 16 is probably also, I would imagine, will follow a similar path where it's like a 1-year exclusive whenever it comes out. A lot of the rumors led me to think that maybe it could be next year. And maybe they're hesitant to say. Maybe Square, considering history, is very hesitant. But I think if you read the blog post on the PlayStation blog that's put up about it, it does seem to indicate that, like, it might be a little while. So maybe 2022.
Yeah, even just to play devil's advocate a little bit, though, I guess I feel like when Remake was announced for PS4, they always used the wording "play it first" on PS4. And so now this is the wording of, like, console exclusive, and I feel like that's usually when they use words for, like, Street Fighter 5. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like there could be a chance that it is.
If it is, it's wild.
That it is full console exclusive, paid up for that.
Which I should say, right? As a human being, console exclusives of third party releases is a bummer for anyone who does not own that.
It's
console.
Annoying. Yes,
it's sucky and it sucks. As like armchair analyst. Collin and Curtis, it's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. So don't, any excitement I might have, or just like disbelief, also know that the human part of me is like, yeah, that sucks. I wish you were able to play that game that is not on the console that you will be buying. That's a bummer. Beep 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 beep. Collin, I have some breaking news.
Oh,
here.
hello. Yes, Curtis.
Going live. I am standing in Japan right now, outside of the Japanese PlayStation blog headquarters.
Oh man, you must have got there fast using the PlayStation 5's SSD.
It's true. So according to the blog post that just went up here, this is translated, by the way, so you never know.
Yeah.
It does appear that we do have a first-party launch lineup for the PlayStation 5. Colin, are you ready?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Curtis, please.
So let's start off with the ones. Let's start off with the ones we know. Astro's Playroom. We know that is confirmed to be just pre-downloaded onto all PS5 consoles. Yep. That's a gimme. Let's talk about some of the more exciting ones. Demon Souls. Wow. Are you familiar with this?
I am familiar with the two plural demons and the souls. Yes.
Mm-hmm, great. Demon Souls confirmed launch title. Wow. Let's move on. Destruction All Stars.
Ooh. Which
announced a few months ago.
Which I don't know if you caught the end sizzler. They showed a little bit of gameplay of.
They did, and like outside of the car, it was look cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's move on. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Something that's been confirmed. We knew this. Yeah. And lastly, one that I particularly am pretty excited about. A Sackboy, A Big Adventure.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't expect that to be launched. That's neat.
Yeah, so that also leaked, possibly. There was a retailer that like put up listings for them earlier today, and then denied it.
Of course.
But anytime that happens, it's like it's the day of it's happening. So cool to see that confirmed.
Yeah.
But let's hop back and a couple more minutes on Final Fantasy 16. Mm-hmm. I'm in. Yeah. I'm ready to go. This, to me, I think a question has been like, okay, 16 Remake 2, what's first? Like, which one? This, to me, I feel like cements that, like, we're going to get this well before we get Remake 2. We'll probably see Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2, Part 2, whatever they call it, like, next year, I'd imagine. We'd probably see that beforehand, but, like, this definitely feels like we're going to get a lot sooner. The other thing I want to say before moving on is I'm just, like, happy that we saw it and not, like, CG, like, oh, man,
you saw
that's crazy. The logo looks cool, and, like, the setting, that's cool, like, the music, of course. Because, I mean, with Final Fantasy, I think even just seeing the setting is important. It's I think, good to know and cool to see that, like, after being kind of in the future for a while, MMOs aside, that it's cool to see us going back and having it be more fantasy. And it's something, I don't know about you, I think from the moment it zoomed out of the character's eye, it was very apparent what it was. I think just artistically, it looks a lot like 14. Just, I think, art style wise, a lot better. Obviously, it looks significantly better graphically, but I think the art style feels very reminiscent of 14. I got heavy Final Fantasy 12 vibes as well, from maybe just some of the cutscene direction. But being able to see a lot of gameplay is, I think, incredibly reassuring from that developer and publisher.
And I feel like we've never really gotten that in a Final Fantasy announcement before. Or Kingdom. Well, I guess maybe like Kingdom Hearts 3 showed a little bit when they first announced that. But yeah, we never really have. I mean, I guess technically if you want to say we got it with 15 back in 2013, but that was Versus basically at that point. But yeah, I'm interested to see when that comes out. Of course, people making the memes already, but I was waiting for like a 2021. I was waiting for like a date on the back of it, but pretty much I feel like most of the stuff we got dates or like at least windows for. But we didn't get that for Final Fantasy. Moving on, number 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, the first game we saw at the very first PlayStation 5 showcase. You have some more details on this than I do, but we'll talk about, this is probably the longest thing they were on. It showed a little bit of gameplay demo, showed Miles going through kind of like a little street fair, perhaps like that. Apparently, I think it's her mom is running for like a representative seat, and there's like these 2 new factions fighting against each other. Then we do get to see our gameplay demo on the bridge. Curtis, and I think I'm going to answer my own question here, but while watching that, I was saying, I feel like this could be done on a PlayStation 4. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's hard to tell. We're watching a stream, right? And so I know you are watching some videos as we record this. I'm mostly just pulling up blog posts, so I won't be able to watch the 4K videos later. Yeah, I mean, this is also coming to PS4. So absolutely, I think that there's going to be just a level of like, I don't know the best way to phrase it. I don't want to say it's being held back because I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Yeah.
But I think it is the case with launch games or launch window games that they're not necessarily always. There are some graphical showpieces, right? Like I think Demon's Souls is probably going to be the one of this launch lineup. But you know, for something like Spider-Man Miles Morales, to me, I kind of don't care. And also, like, they're supposed to be using ray tracing puddles. I think someone tweeted that a few months ago, so we'll see. It's hard to tell, though. Like, honestly, I think with the stream, a lot of it is, like, I don't know, I think it looks good. I think it looks better than what we've seen before, but it's hard to tell. So I don't have much of a pull with that. But I do have, so with Spider-Man Miles Morales, it is PS4, PS5. It is a launch game, so September 12th. And then 19th for
November.
Other countries. I don't remember. Or yes, November.
Yes,
God,
it's okay.
November 12th. I think is it Europe. I think it's U.S., Europe, and Japan. November 12th. I might mistake that, but and then 19th for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it is $50 for that. You can, and then if you get the PS4 version, you can upgrade for free. But then also they are porting or they're upgrading the original Spider-Man from Insomniac, and I think it's $70 and you will get both. I don't have the info pulled up again for what the remastered version has. It's like more people in the streets, better character models, some new costumes, stuff like that. So that's cool. Collin, I do have some more breaking news here.
Oh, live outside of Insomniac Games in California, going to Curtis.
Which is weird because I don't know why they would be giving me information like this.
Yeah.
But direct from the PlayStation blog. I want to hold on this. Let's finish on Miles Morales.
Okay.
And give it its due. I thought it looked great. I do think like you're gonna get a set piece kind of demo like we do here. To me, it just it's one of those things that you get like the feelings you got with Spider-Man from Insomniac a couple years ago. Year ago, whenever it was, that they're just doing it justice, right? Like you just like, this is Spider-Man, this is what this is about. So seeing one thing that's interesting to me is like story-wise, knowing that his mom's running for office, like that's interesting. There's these two factions. I'm not super familiar with the villain that they introduced. I don't know.
They called it the Tinker. Was that?
Yeah,
correct?
I believe that's the name. So not super familiar. I also wasn't familiar with in Spider-Man. I don't remember the guy's name. But there was one of the first villains they showed for that game.
Mr. Negative.
Also a villain I wasn't super familiar with, so that's cool. I'm actually not sure. I don't know if I'm as familiar with like Miles Morales specific villains. As I am with like just the general Spider-Man Rogues Gallery, but
right.
Watching it was just like, yeah, man, like this just, I know when I play this that it's just gonna feel right. It looked like Spider-Man with some new powers that looked really exciting and fun to use. So I'm there. I'm ready. Like, bring it on.
And I mean, I can say this and then somebody can rip it apart and tell me I'm wrong, but it seemed like there was a lot of new, in addition to new moves, it seemed like there was just a lot of new animations. So it's not just the Miles Morales skin over what Peter Parker's moveset was in the original game. There's a lot of those like burst electricity mechanics. And I think that really just shows off the destruction of everything, especially like the edges of the bridge and the barriers and stuff like that just getting like ripped apart and all of the debris flying. I think that showed really well. I mean, if they're building this for PS5, I wonder how that maybe scales to PS4. I hopefully it doesn't like run really bad or something like that. But yeah, overall pretty happy with that. I mean, I like kind of the different like UI that design they showed, and a lot of it looked like more Spider-Man, and it definitely did look like a kind of almost like another expansion. It is that kind of like half step to what Spider-Man 2 will be. I'm
curious Or go ahead.
I was just thinking. They mentioned the developer who was on there mentioned it was like took place in Harlem, so I almost was starting to wonder if it's going to be a smaller map size than the PS5 game.
Oh, maybe.
But that's just speculation on my part, so I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm curious again just to know how long it is. Like, curious if they throw out an hour number, like, oh, it's 6 hours, it's 7, it's however long. So let's get the breaking news is coming in as we speak.
Yes.
I got just a line of things to say. So just rapid fire some reactions here for me, Collin.
Okay.
If you will. First off, let's just go with the one that I actually did not expect at all. Horizon Forbidden West will also ship for PlayStation 4 as well as PlayStation 5.
Wow, that's shocking.
That's pretty wild.
That is wild. I did not expect
forbidden even.
That is forbidden Wild West. That's really shocking. I did not expect that to happen, and there's a lot of games that we thought Xbox would be on both, and now there's a lot of PlayStation stuff on both too.
But that also like makes me think, hey, maybe this game actually is like earlier next year than we think it is.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe like I think a lot of people, and not to spoil the end of this showcase, I think a lot of people expected Horizon to be their big game at the like back half of 2021. Mm-hmm. Maybe that won't be the case. Maybe not. Yeah. So like there's that. That actually is, to me, is pretty surprising. Wow. Let's just go over. So Sony posted a few moments ago on the blog just like all the info, specific to I think PS5 launch lineup, stuff like that. So November 12th, we've already mentioned. Yeah. Let's go over this is confirmed from the US blog. So just to reiterate really quick, PS5 launch games from SIE, Worldwide Studios, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Asterisk Playroom, which is pre-installed on PS5. Here we go. So Demon Souls from Bluepoint Games, Japan Studio, US $69.99.
I'm
Destruction.
I'm okay with it, but we can go on.
I'm okay with it too. Well, like I mean, I have to be, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
it's got no choice.
Yep.
One that actually is kind of surprising to me. Destruction All Stars, Lucid Games XDev, US $69.99.
Oh, okay. I would have guessed like a $40-$50 title for that.
Yeah, that's something I totally thought would be cheaper, but maybe there's a good chance there's a lot more to that game than we know of right now. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales is $49.99, $50. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition, which is a mouthful, is $69.99.
Okay.
So that's for both. And then Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Sumo Digital XDev is $59.99.
It's kind of all over the place with the pricing.
Yeah. And I believe they said that for their games they will range from I think 50 to 70 is something that they mentioned. A couple other things to note before moving on. DualSense wireless controller standalone is $69.99.
That's a shock. I thought it was going to be more than that.
I thought it was going to be like 80.
I was going to be like 80.
Yeah, I think the Nintendo Pro controller is 80, and I was kind of expecting that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Pulse 3D wireless headset will retail starting at $99.99.
Yeah, that's about what I was thinking.
Yep. HD camera. So just their new PS5 camera. This comes with dual 1080p lenses. $59.99.
Okay.
Media remote to navigate, movie streaming services. $29.99.
Yeah.
DualSense charging station. $29.99.
Okay.
One thing I don't see mentioned here, granted I am skimming this, so I could very easily be missing it, is that looking to see if a stand comes with it. I think the stand was like loosely confirmed on like a Chinese retailer website or something a few days ago, so wanted to see if that was mentioned. I mean, it looks like that's the case. They're not listing it as an accessory to buy. And it looks like it might actually be required. A couple other things, just skimming this here, I wanted to mention before we move on. So they mentioned today we shared a sneak peek of the following new games. So DMC5 Special Edition, Final Fantasy 16, which we talked about. Some other games we'll get to. Let's see. They talk about... Yeah, so worldwide studios titles will be priced from $50 to $70 on PS5. We know that the PS4 community will transition to PS5 at different times, and we're happy to announce PS4 versions of some of our exclusives. Miles Morales, Sackboy, Horizon Forbidden West will launch on PS4. While these games were designed to take advantage of PS5, its unique next-gen features like the SSD DualSense controller, PS4 owners will also be able to enjoy these experiences when they launch. PS4 digital versions of launch games include a free upgrade, of both PS5 consoles, on both PS5 consoles, while the PS4 disc versions include a free upgrade as well.
Okay.
Cool. And any other thing they announce is stuff that we will get to. So, with that said, that was a lot.
Yeah.
But I wanted to break in because some crazy stuff there.
Yeah.
From there, let's move on. So, at this point in the show, Collin, I'm like, dang, man, Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, all right, like a pretty good way to start. And then there was Maniacs.
Yep.
So the WB logo shows up, and I'm like, well, okay, we've seen Batman, we've seen Suicide Squad. What's the other one?
Yep.
So Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
Is the name. It's actually, the name is interesting to me. I believe it's like Portkey Games.
Yeah, I said something about that, which is, I don't know who that is, but I thought Avalanche is making it.
Well, so Portkey is, or I don't remember I have to look at the logo again. It's like Portkey something. Are you, like, have you, I guess I should say, have you read all of the Harry Potter books? Like, are you familiar with the franchise?
I have watched.
Where is your Harry Potter knowledge at?
Two things. I have watched all of the movies that was years ago. I don't remember anything. And then I do remember standing in line for the very last book to pick it up for my brother's wife. And I stood there with a bunch of Harry Potter people and I had no idea what they were talking about. That's my experience. Great. Continue.
So Portkey is like an actual like thing in that universe.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So it seemed more of like a branding for maybe more games down the line or something. I don't know. But so Hogwarts Legacy, they gave it a 2021 date.
Yeah, finally. Like, this is just, you just got announced and we're like, oh, finally it's coming out 2021.
And so again, similar to Final Fantasy, right? We've known about this game. There was a leaked trailer, or loosely I'll say trailer. It was footage that probably wasn't intended to be shown. It was just, but we've seen it a couple years ago. We've known about this game's existence for a long time. And so again, it was, for me, it was like, man, when this game's announced, they better be showing like gameplay. It better not just be just a CG trailer. And like, I don't know. I thought it looked great. I'm into it. I'm ready to go to Hogwarts.
Is this PS5 only? Like probably PS5, Xbox Series X, or is it
I would assume. I mean, I would assume that it's not exclusive.
Right.
If it was, they would say it, right?
I think. Yeah, and I didn't mean just PS5. I meant like PS4, Xbox One, perhaps, maybe.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been in development a long time.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see how that game plays. Like, is it like free camera or kind of thing, or is it like more of like you hold L2 and you bring out your wand and you press R2 and you fire? Like, it's just that kind of stuff that I wonder about.
Yeah, so like a lot of the gameplay we saw in this trailer, and I mean in the footage that leaked a few years ago, like it looked pretty similar. Like obviously it looked better and probably more polished, right? But I think like the way that game controls like looked as it did a couple years back when that footage leaked. So it was like in quick spurts. We didn't see like a long drawn out gameplay from the trailer today. So I imagine there will be just a lot of analyzing and being like, all right, so what is happening in this 2 seconds before it cuts to something else?
Sure.
They seem to be teasing. So I think like Harry Potter's in a weird place, and I don't want to go too much on a tangent, right? But I know just my personal feelings.
That's
like,
fine.
I adored that book series. I was a little disappointed and let down by the ending of the final book. That's just my own personal thing. But like that book series, not just for me, but for a lot of people, was their childhood. It was like, it is incredibly important to them. Like that book series is the reason I read as much as I did as a kid. right? Like, so it's a very like integral part of my life. Although it's not, Harry Potter isn't necessarily something I've really done a lot of thinking about in a long time either, right? And so, you know, on one level, like I see this game and I'm like, this is awesome, right? Now there are things that exist outside of the video game world that makes it a little weird. But to me, it's like, you know, this is a team of however many people at Avalanche probably putting their heart and soul into a game that I think looks really good, and a game that is representative of a world that is really important to a lot of people. And so I don't want to forget that either. What's interesting, at least, so this takes place well before the events of the books. I think I said 1800s.
Yeah, late 1800s, I think.
Yeah. So I think you're looking at about 100 years before the events of the books. They seem to be teasing, I don't know if I would say a villain. The trailer voiceover definitely is teasing some kind of mystery, which is interesting, and I'm curious, like, if it might be something that as book readers, like, or as people who are fans of the franchise might be like, oh, I know what that is. I know what they're teasing. For me, I'm not going to be as well versed to know it. Or I wonder if it will be like an entirely original thing. Like if they're far enough away from the books and just time and like in a time period that they can just make up stuff. Or I wonder if like whatever this, it seemed to be teasing like an ancient magic or something, right? I wonder if it'll just be like, yeah, I don't know. There was this one line in book 4 and we were like, that sounds cool. Let's go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
That's how like all the Star Wars books exist. Just like there's that one guy and that one in Empire Strikes Back who did that one thing, and let's write a book series about him. So I wonder if that's kind of the same thing with maybe how they're approaching this. I don't know, but hopefully they've got a good amount of creative freedom, I guess. I mean, the only last thing I could think about that was Harry Potter related game wise was Wonder Book. That's what I was thinking about the whole time. Remember that Wonder Book game they made that was Harry Potter related? But I just
want to say, up to this point, my 2 favorite Harry Potter games, three favorite. One is the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on Game Boy Color.
Nice. Shout out.
Was just a straight up JRPG.
Oh, really? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was just like straight up had a turn-based combat system. It was great. 2 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on PS2, which was like a 3D collectathon platformer. And that was cool. And then finally, Dark Horse is Harry Potter. Oh man, what was the name of this game? So you played, it was like Quidditch World Cup. And so it was a sports game where you played Quidditch on PS2 as well.
Okay. Didn't think we'd be hearing about those games today, but yeah.
No, but there's a lot of things
I know.
you wouldn't have expected.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Let's move on. So, Call of Duty Black Ops World War, oh my god. I can't speak today.
You got this.
Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. This is what happens when you give me game titles that are 6+ words long.
Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition. Something like that. I don't know.
So this is also a launch game. Not really anything new here. The one announcement was that the alpha for the multiplayer on PlayStation will be free this weekend, except for Germany and Japan.
Yeah, it says nominal fee required to
for
access
whatever
in Germany and Japan.
Assuming some kind of law in those countries that I don't know. Weird.
But I kind of want to talk about Black Ops real quick though.
Okay.
Before we move on,
go right ahead
to the big one. I was really because I like Call of Duty. I mostly play the campaigns every year. Didn't a couple years ago because I didn't have a campaign, but it's just really cool. Like I was a big fan of Black Ops 1, like that campaign, and Black Ops 2. So this is like a sequel to the first Black Ops, and so like you see like Woods and Mason. I think you were playing as Mason in this trailer. Like Woods is back. Like it's really cool to see those guys back and whatnot. One thing I noticed, this game just seems brutal, like much more brutal than other ones, like putting a grenade in a guy's pocket, kicking him away. Like we've seen that in like Gears of War or whatever. But then like even just some of the takedown stuff, like stabbing a guy in the neck and shooting him in the head. And they showed like a bullet time thing, which I think was in one of the Treyarch Call of Duties beforehand. Like they did that thing where like they'd slow it down. Like I want to say in Black Ops 1, like you killed Fidel Castro's like body double, and like they did that whole like slow down bullet time effect kind of thing. So they've done that. But I'm actually pretty interested in this. I'm still at that point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy it. Do I want to rent it? I'm not really sure because I'm not a big multiplayer guy. I don't really care about Warzone. I don't care about zombies.
Sure.
And I know I can get pretty much all I want out of it, out of a rental.
The thing for me, seeing the like RC car thing segment, was like, to me it was like, well, it'll be launch. Maybe it'll be worth it. Maybe I should just get that too.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, that's the one benefit like that a game like that has for someone like me that otherwise would never even bat an eye, is that like at launch it feels like all bets are off.
Yeah.
Right, where you're just like, I'm just picking up whatever. Yeah,
and I mean, maybe other than Godfall, like that is probably going to be the multiplayer game that people are playing on PS5. Is Black Ops Cold War for launch. But I think, well,
Destruction All-Stars,
I know, I was thinking about that, but then I think Black Ops Cold War is cross-play with like literally everything. I know people have said that, it doesn't look as good as like last year's Modern Warfare even. I think that was Infinity Ward built their own engine, because this year was supposed to be Sledgehammer, who did World War II Advanced Warfare. They were supposed to have their game this year. Apparently that did not go well, and so now Treyarch had to make a game in 2 years, and I feel like Treyarch's probably still using their Black Ops 4 engine, which honestly doesn't look as good. I would probably say stylized with everything, as well as the Modern Warfare game did. But regardless of all that, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing that alpha on PS4. I would want to play the beta, but I think you have to pre-order a digital copy of the game to play the beta, which is like kind of weird. I'm still like a physical guy. But yeah, that's really all I got to say on Black Ops. I was actually surprised we saw it today. I was kind of surprised they circled back around on that.
It's always...
Yeah,
it's always one.
we had that debut trailer, we had the multiplayer reveal, and I was kind of surprised they circled back around. But of course, the greatest FPS of all time, you want to call it an FPS. We saw a guy waking up on a bed, and I was like, "This is it. Here's our Silent Hill. It's the beginning of PT. Right. He's waking up."
The same thing.
And no, it's Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village, I should say.
I think you and I if I'm remembering this incorrectly, please correct me. I feel like beginning of this year, you and I both were like, yeah, that Silent Hill rumor probably true.
I was still waiting. Like, it was like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, there's like, it said a minute. It was supposed to be like 40 minutes. And like, all right, it's like 38 minutes. And I'm like, all right, that last game, it's got to be Silent Hills. Did not happen, but
no, unfortunately.
But we did get a consolation prize, I guess.
Sure. So this was a game that was announced a couple months ago at their last showcase. We got a new trailer for Resident Evil 8 Village. It keeps throwing me off that they like have an actual subtitle on this.
Right. Well, that's kind of like the last one too. They had like Resident 7 Biohazard,
7.
I guess.
I think I don't even know if they ever like. I feel like they never even tweet it like Resident Evil 7. It's always just Resident Evil Biohazard. But
yeah, sure.
Which seems to be what they're doing with 8 as well. So maybe that's just the new thing. So new trailer, new gameplay. I thought it looked better. I thought this was a better trailer.
It ran better. I was watching that and I was I was waiting for the stuttering. It didn't really seem to happen, so I was happy with that. Yeah,
this definitely looked better. One thing that struck me, so like this game, I think no matter how the trailers are edited, at least it feels apparent just from the trailers, but also due to just rumors and stuff and leaks and stuff we already know about it. Like, we know that this will have more action. Like, we know it'll be a little bit more focused on action stuff than 7 was. But still, like, it feels like these trailers have really shied away from showing, like, straight up shooting stuff, right? Like, it's actually similar to the Harry Potter trailer, or the Hogwarts trailer, where it's a lot of gameplay and just very quick bursts.
Sure.
And so there's never, like, more than 5 seconds.
A lot of walking around.
Consistent. A lot of walking around. A lot of, like, stuff jumping into your view. Werewolves, other witches and things jumping down at you. There's a castle. There's what appears to be a merchant of some sort.
Loved it.
Possibly.
Love it.
Which, again, like, to me, I think I mentioned this before, heavy RE4 vibes from this. Like some like loosely, but some very, very in your face.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, it's easy to try and imitate the greatest game of all time. That is
Some may
Resident Evil
say.
4. Some may say. I mean, I'm one of them.
Sure.
But yeah, they showed a lot of they showed like this kind of animated thing that almost looked like the art of Don't Starve, talking about like going into the woods and Maria or what's her name? I can't remember the girl that probably dies at the beginning of the game that was in 7.
Mia?
Mia, thank you. I was trying to like
Yeah.
Mary, Maria. I was like, that's Silent Hill. That's Silent Hill too.
Sackboy? What?
Yeah, Sackboy.
Anyways.
Sackboy comes. But yeah, they showed a little bit of that. So I'm expecting some flashbacks.
Can you imagine Sackboy in a trench coat? And he's like, what are you buying?
I'm going to just throw
Anyways.
this out here. I'm going to bet that there were Little Big Planet 2 Resident Evil costumes for like Resident Evil 5 or something like that. I bet you could, in Little Big Planet 2 on PS3,
yeah, you're totally
you
right.
could dress Sackboy up like Wesker. But I don't know. But yeah, they showed some new things. They showed like a couple new different enemies. There was like this big like hulking guy smashing through walls, like kind of the Baker dad. Doing a little bit of that again from Resident Evil 7. They kind of end with the shot of like the big old castle before that. So I expect that to be a major area of the game. And I don't know if this is like, I think about like Resident Evil 4 like took place and they don't even call it acts, but I mean they called it chapters. But like you originally had the village, you had the castle, you had the island. And I wonder if like this game's going to be like segmented in those areas, where with Resident Evil 7, until you really got to the end of the game, you could really go anywhere at any time in that house area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how much like you can backtrack, or how much of a, hey, now I've got this, I can go all the way over here, this door's locked, and I come back in a couple hours, I can get in there kind of thing. So I'll be interested to see how true to form they stay with that. Anything else to say on Resident Evil?
Pretty pumped. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was still just a blanket like 2021, right? There wasn't any more
Yep.
anything other than that. Okay.
Yep, just 2021.
So let's move on. So we got a new trailer for Deathloop.
Mm-hmm.
This was a game that was going to be later this year. They pushed it, I think a couple weeks ago, was delayed. They did give us a Q2 2021 at the end of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing, I don't want to spend too much time on this just because there's not a whole lot new and it hasn't had been announced before. But one thing that struck me, the trailer, I think both of the trailers of this game so far, at least other than like its original announcement way back, is I like the editing of the trailers and how they're telling a story. So the first one very much sets up like, this is what this game is, this is what you're going to be doing. But like the way it was illustrated through editing, I thought was really well done. This trailer talks you through really like two targets, but one specifically. Mm-hmm. And what was so the setup of this game is that you have, I think it's 8 targets that you need to kill in a single day, and you're in a loop. So every time you die, you restart the day over. And there's also like another character that could possibly be player controlled in parts that is hunting you specifically. And what was interesting about the trailer that we saw today is that it wasn't like, oh yeah, you go to this one's level and then you assassinate them, and then you go to the next level and you do the next person. Is they seem to indicate that like you could get these people together in a room.
Right.
You know, you could take certain actions that would impact where that person is in the world, and if it just so happens that they're at the same place at the same time, 2 birds, 1 stone is the phrasing they used in the trailer. Mm-hmm. But that really struck me as like, oh, okay, like similar to their Dishonored lineage, right? Of like different actions impacting the way a mission can play out, and being able to have different routes that you can take and do different things. Maybe it's stealthy, maybe it's just running in, maybe like using abilities differently. So that was really cool. And the thing that struck me that I messaged my brother about is like, this to me feels like a really good setup for a speedrunning friendly game.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe there's a way to get all 8 targets, or like 5 of the targets in one place at one time and the other 3 in another place later on, and then it's just boom, boom, done. Like, I don't know if that's what they're going for, but like I could see that. Like, it feels like a very like logical next step for a game that's set up in this way. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was actually my thought when they were talking about with the two people. Like, I can see the gold trophy in the game assassinate all 8 in the same map or
in a
same
single
area.
shot or something like that.
Even that, yeah. But I will say, yeah, we've seen this game. I've probably been on record on these podcasts being like, I don't really know what this game is still. I think this was really the trailer that really got me probably really interested in this game. This game's really kind of on my radar now where it hadn't been. I was really pleased with this trailer, and I would almost maybe put it probably like maybe one of my best showings, if you'd maybe say that. I thought the showing of this game was really good. And then, of course, we knew about it beforehand. They didn't say it in the presentation last time, but this is a PlayStation console exclusive, so it will be on PC. Yep. That's from Arcane, Leon, just like you mentioned, Dishonored people. This is next where the show starts to take a little bit of a dull for me. So, of course, they're having a hit, like big hit announcement after announcement, and I'm like, this can't be Devil May Cry 6 already, right? But it's not. It's Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition.
You know, when it started, I thought it was what was that, Project Strata, or what was it called?
Oh yeah,
was that the name?
They showed like in the beginning sizzle reel of this whole thing. They showed
they showed a little bit of it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, we saw like a puddle in a street, right? And it looked present day, and I was like, all right, it's probably that. That's cool. Yeah. We're gonna see more of that. No.
Yep. Yeah. Devil May Cry 5. Probably. I mean. You played that game, right? You played Devil May Cry 5?
Yeah, it's great.
I want to rent it. That's a game I do want to play. So I can't...
Maybe wait.
I know, I was thinking about that. Did it look like there was any like new moves, any new area, anything like that in the game?
So it seemed to indicate that you'll be able to play through the campaign as Virgil.
Okay.
Which I imagine is like probably the biggest new addition. Let me check the blog. I don't know if anything's been posted on the PlayStation blog yet about it. But I'll double check as we're talking. Okay. That seemed to be the biggest new thing of just like, even the dialogue seemed to imply that, you would, instead of playing as Dante in the other, like, so you have 3 characters that you play through that in that campaign that you switch back and forth. So it seemed like Virgil might take Dante's place, and then maybe, spoiler, Dante would be the last boss. I don't know. But so that seemed to be it. Okay. It is out at launch.
Available digitally at launch, I think is one of their words they said even.
Yeah, okay, so there is a post on the blog, so I will skim this really quick and see if there is anything new. Let's see. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, players have the choice to turn on ray tracing and prioritize resolution targeting 4K at 30 or targeting 1080 at 60. Let's see. So ray tracing, sure.
Yeah, it's the buzzword of the generation.
Takes advantage of DualSense's new functionality. When you press L2 to rev up Nero's Xseed, you'll be able to feel it. Neat. Let's see.
Sold right there.
There is. Okay, so PS5 also gives console players the ability to play their game at frame rates up to 120 FPS. Which is enabled in DMC5 Special Edition when players turn on high frame rate mode. So that could be really cool.
Yeah.
Especially for a game like that. Like, totally see that being pretty wild. So firstly, we added turbo mode. The ability to crank up the gameplay to play at 1.2x the normal speed.
Okay.
Which it sounds, from their wording, it sounds like this has been in other DMC games. Secondly, Legendary Dark Knight difficulty. This is a difficulty where each encounter provides multiple times the enemies compared to the other difficulties. Cool. Last but certainly not least, Virgil. As soon as DMC5 was announced back in 2018, the most consistent request that we got from players was for playable Virgil. So, let's see. They talk through some of like specific ways that he'll play. If you own DMC5 on PS4, stay tuned. The playable character Virgil paid DLC will be available at a later date.
Okay.
It's $40.
Yeah, that's about
out
right.
at launch.
You can
So
probably get
that
the game 20 on PS4 right now or so.
yeah, so I have it on PS4 digitally. I played through it. It's fantastic. It is fantastic. Don't know if I will play again. I'm not. I don't know if I'm like that big of a DMC fan to be like, oh, Virgil, here we go, let's do this. It is super exciting, I think, but this was definitely the part for me where it's like, you're just like, it's cool, like there is new features like ray tracing that obviously will only be a PS5 specific thing, but when the other console manufacturer is just like, you get it for free.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a little like,
But yeah, this game does not support smart delivery. Yeah, or whatever your word is.
Yeah.
So moving on, no offense to Oddworld inhabitants and stuff like that, but this was one of those games I was like they're showing this game again, and I think this is the part where I started looking at my watch and I was like, oh man, we're getting close to that 40 minutes now. Like, hopefully they don't take too much time on Oddworld. Oddworld Soulstorm showed up. Lauren Lanning talked a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
They mentioned stuff that can only be done on PlayStation 5, but I can't see this being only PS5 game, right? This is
a game. I feel like I've seen this game at least once every year since
I know. Yeah.
10 years ago or 5 years. I feel like this was early in the PS4 life cycle. I feel like I was seeing this game.
They put out New and Tasty.
Could be exaggeration.
I think this is after New and Tasty, which that came out finally, but
just Soulstorm is one that like it pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember when it popped up at the last showcase, it was like, oh, okay, all right. Is it actually coming out now? Because cool. But yeah, I
don't even remember if did they even put a date on it.
I thought that this was supposed to be out later this year. But again, I don't know.
Just watch the end of the trailer. There's no date on the end of that.
Interesting.
So see it in the state of play beginning of 2021. Please be excited. Next up was a game I got really excited about because I was like, man, what is this cool style? Like, this style looked cool, and it's like a theme park. And then I was like, wait a minute, is this a Five Nights at Freddy's game? And then that's what it was.
Yeah. There's like a creepy voiceover, and it's like just different environments, like zooming out on them. Mm-hmm. And there was a part where it looks like you're in some kind of maze or like laser tag maze or something.
Yeah.
And again, I'm like you probably. I'm like, okay, this is cool looking. What is this? And then I've never played a Five Nights at Freddy's game, but I think there's, I'm sure I'm not the only one. Sure, if you see like a silhouette or a figure that looks like one of those characters, you know what it is. Mm-hmm. Those games just got so big that it's, even if you've never touched them, it's easy to just recognize it pretty quick. So there's like a gold statue of Freddy. I don't know who Freddy is.
Yeah, I saw
one of these characters, one of the animatronics. Yeah. So my trajectory on this was like very excited.
Yep.
Oh, well, maybe it was like where I ended at. I've never had an interest in any of these games. Yeah. I've never touched them. They've never looked interesting to me. And this is one very easily that we could see gameplay for, and I could be like, yeah, I'm okay. But again, like this teaser trailer, the settings that we saw, the voiceover, and also just because, again, I don't know, like my very, very limited knowledge of this series is that it's not like, I think the first one at least, or the first few, was one person. I don't know if they formed a team and it got bigger. Like, I don't know where that franchise is at these days before this game. I don't even know if this game was announced before and it was just the first time we've seen it. But like, it felt like it looked like a step up from what I've seen of that series before, just like production wise, and graphically, like it looked like a step up for just environments. But who even knows? I don't know.
Yeah,
I ended that trailer being like, maybe into it.
So the way they showed the environment, my thought at the end of the trailer was like, is this going to be like some first person thing, like where you're walking through the maze? Like, with seeing this trailer, it would be hard for me to believe that you're just switching between cameras, which is like usually what the Five Nights at Freddy's are games, I think, are. Like, aren't you usually just like opening and closing doors and like switching cameras, I think?
That's what I thought.
So
yeah.
so I guess just seeing this, it would be kind of surprising if like that was it to the game. Because this definitely does seem to have more of like a... And like, not to say they weren't before, but I don't think like the Five Nights at Freddy's games like actually had like rendered areas. You know what I mean? It just seemed like they just were like maybe pictures in the background that changed a little bit. But this seems to be like a fully like rendered, modeled Dave and Buster's that has been taken over by...
We need our Five Nights at Freddy's expert.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Get my like, we'll go to so and so's nephew who's 13 for Five Nights at Freddy's expert. What? Anyways, moving on. Now we're starting to go back up a little bit. This next time,
more than a little.
We kind of shoot through the roof now.
It was at this point that it occurred to me that this was about a 40-minute show, is what they said, and that we were at like minute 33.
Yep.
And it was at this point that I went, "Oh wait." And then I started thinking about the things we hadn't seen, and I was like, "Oh man, dang! Like, I guess Demon's Souls isn't a launch game. That's a bummer. Weird, we haven't seen Sackboy yet. Oh well." And then lo and behold, those maniacs. So I've not played Demon's Souls since I played it the first time, which is back in October of 2019 or 2009.
Yeah, gotcha. 10
Much
years.
longer. I've not played this game in a year.
Yeah.
No. So it's been 11 years. It was my favorite game of that year when I played it. It was what started it all, right? One of my key memories, there's a lot I've forgotten about this game, right? Like, just inherently 11 years, you forget things. The one thing that I've remembered above all else is the Maiden in Black. So she is, if you're not familiar, Collin, basically, this is a game that has a hub area and it's like level based. So unlike Dark Souls that was all interconnected, you have the Nexus, which is your hub. That's where your shopkeepers are. That's where the Maiden in Black is. She's the one that takes your souls and you level up with her. And then there are like archstones. So each one is a level. And the levels are split up into like, I guess, quadrants. I think it's like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. And there's 5 archstones. There's one infamously. There's 6 archstones, but one of which is like broken. And we know that is cut content. And so one of the theories, one of the things people have been speculating is, will this remake include that? We don't know.
Yeah.
From the trailer and gameplay we saw, still don't know. We'll see. And I don't even think they mentioned it. Sony hasn't mentioned it at all, so I don't know. It seems unlikely, maybe, but the thing I remember about the Maiden in Black is the dialogue she says, which is how this trailer opened. And one of the voice acting in these games, starting with Demon's Souls and onward, have been on point. I don't know if they've gotten the original people back. It sounded like it, but I'm not sure. This looked fantastic. So they started off and they just showed the tutorial area.
Oh, okay.
That might have been slightly shortened. It's hard to tell. Like, their character is clearly doing a lot more damage.
I was gonna say, does everybody just go down in one hit in this game?
Now, granted, it's the tutorial. No, like Demon's Souls, from what I remember, is significantly harder. It's hard. It's hard, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like I remember it being harder than the other games, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't know where I would rank it, or where other people who've played it more than I have would rank it. And granted, it is the tutorial area, and so generally enemies in the tutorial sections for these games do fall pretty quick.
Right.
But it seemed clear that, like, instead of taking 2 hits, they were taking 1. And so it does look like it was maybe the tutorial section cut down a little bit, but it seemed to like cover most of it. Where you go through like a few different environments. When you hit a bonfire, it teleports you to the next part of the tutorial, and which is, I believe, what bonfires did in this game. Instead of being like save points where you sat down and leveled, they would just teleport you to a next section. Could be wrong on that, or at least for some of them, I believe that's the case.
Okay.
It just looks fantastic, though. I mean,
Yeah.
so this is. We saw some screenshots a few months ago, back in June, when this was announced officially. Yeah, that is so. Like, that is going to be my first game, right? Like, that will be the thing that I play when the PS5 is out. I plan on picking up quite a few things, but like, there will be nothing else that I touch before this game.
Yeah. One thing I'm interested to get your thoughts on. This is something that, like, I'm not really into the Souls games, but one thing I don't like when I look at them is I just feel like there's so much HUD on the screen. I was just interested.
So
They
no
showed
HUD
this,
on this either.
Yeah, they showed it with no HUD, so I don't know if there's an option to play without HUD or how that's going to look later.
Maybe. I mean, it feels like pretty consistent that a lot of times when we see gameplay footage of, pre-release footage, like, we see it without a HUD.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought was like, oh yeah, this is, they just turned it off just to show how good it looks, kind of deal.
Sure.
But we'll see. I mean, It would be cool. I think, especially with the community of these games, like, I think that's totally something I could see people wanting. I don't think console versions of any of the Souls games or even Bloodborne had any kind of option like that. I think on PC there probably were at least mods to do it.
Right, sure.
And I believe that's the case for sure, because I feel like I've watched playthroughs of these games with the HUD turned off. Because then it's like a little bit more difficult because you don't know how much health you have, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% on it.
Yeah,
they showed up to the tutorial boss. They showed a handful of bosses as well. Some of their, like, key moments of the game. It looks like everything I want it to be. There is someone who's posted their Illusory Wall is their Twitter handle, and they did the same back in June. But they've been posting some now that we've got more gameplay footage. Some, like, side by sides. And again, just like similar to the screenshots we got back in June, like, the difference is, I mean, of course it's a big difference, right? The original Demon Souls was by no means a looker.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is pretty staggering, I think. It's pretty remarkable to me. There's definitely some people who, like, aren't into the look, and that's fine. I am.
So if you had to guess, give yourself a timeline, when do you have the platinum on PlayStation 5?
So yeah, Souls? that's the other thing exciting about this is earlier in the year, if you remember, I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast, but, like, you and I talked, and I finally sat down and I was like, okay, like, I'm finally gonna do it. I've already got the Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 platinums. Like, I'm finally gonna go back, finish the fight, like, get the platinum in Dark Souls 1. So I did that, and then almost immediately following that, I got the platinum in Dark Souls 2. So as it stands, the only one I'm missing is Demon Souls, and I don't really have a way to play the original right now, so I've just been patiently waiting, hoping and like leaning on that rumor that it was actually in development, and then leaning on the rumor that it was aiming for launch, and here we are. The stars have aligned.
The souls have aligned.
My soul will be mended in November after a horrible year for the world,
right.
In general. This year has been okay-ish for me personally, but knock on wood. I will, like, the difficult part, right? Is like any other time, this would be the only game I play. There's gonna be there's a ridiculous amount of stuff coming out, even aside from, like, the next gen stuff, right? There's Yakuza 7, there's Assassin's Creed, there's
Cyberpunk.
Watch Dogs, there's Cyberpunk, which is the week after. Yeah. There's Watch Dogs Legion, which I, like, kind of want to wait and play the PS5 version just to know that it does, like, it runs okay. There is Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories the day after PS5 comes out. And that will at least have 2 minutes of key story information. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I will definitely have the Demon Souls Platinum before the end of this year. I will even go as far as to say before the end of March or November.
Wow.
Before the end of November 2020, that Demon's Souls Platinum will be mine.
Wow, that I was gonna say like, oh, probably by March. I thought you were gonna say, but
calling my shot.
Wow.
Well, I mean, so like Dark Souls was pretty quick. Dark Souls 2 took a while. I think Dark Souls 2 took like 2 weeks. Or maybe even longer. The grind in Dark Souls 2 was a lot worse. Now, what's interesting is, and we'll see like how much of a point for point remake is this? How much different stuff is there? And then also, what is the trophy list like? Because in Demon's Souls, the original, the trophy list for that is very grindy from what I have heard. I didn't really like aim for it when I played it originally. For some reason, I just never really like tried. But from my understanding, it is incredibly grindy. So if it's the same one, it might take a bit longer. But I could also very well see this being a pretty unique list. And like I could see like half of the list being the same, and maybe some of the other stuff being different.
Yeah, sure.
Depending on how like weapon upgrades and stuff works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else to say?
This is a launch
Souls?
game.
Yeah, it's a launch game.
That's all there is to say.
That is still nuts to me because I would have thought that Spider-Man was going to be it, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's honestly kind of crazy if you think about. I mean, so PS4 they had Killzone and Knack.
Pretty much.
Resogun, if you compare that, it's a Resogun. Yeah, it's like if you compare those two to Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, Sackboy, Destruction All Stars, and then you also have this Astrobot thing, which, from all we know of it, is at least a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems to be like a little beefy.
Yeah.
Which is exciting because, again, like that game in VR is incredible.
It's great.
I have no reason to doubt that this won't be equally as fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sackboy is really Sackboy wasn't in this presentation, so it is cool to have it confirmed because like that looked like it was pretty far along in June. That's fun as well as Destruction All Stars. Like those are good multiplayer games. It's good to have that kind of stuff at launch. Excited for both of those.
Yeah, and to circle back to Deathloop a little bit, like that game was supposed to be launch earlier this year, and like now I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like that's okay that game's not coming there.
Let it cook.
Yeah, and then of course Ghostwire Tokyo is probably around there too.
And let's not forget to mention what is still one of my most anticipated games, Kena.
Oh right.
Which did get pushed into next year. I don't know if they specified when. I think they might have just said it was pushed into next year. Let it cook.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. When it comes out, it can just have the whole week to itself, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think, both of us can agree that, even if there was, a whole year of video games that never released, we would still be finding backlog stuff to play.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy.
And I also wonder, Kena, was announced, and I think I'm not the only one who is completely, way into that game in a big way. And I wonder if the reaction maybe, influenced some things, and maybe people were like, you know what? Maybe the developer's like, hey, people are actually really excited about this. We need to make sure this is good.
Yeah.
Or we need to make sure we give it enough time. And, I don't know if Sony, it's PS4, PS5, and PC, so if Sony has any kind of involvement with it, maybe they're like, yeah, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe honestly, moving on a launch might be the best thing for it because it could so easily get drowned.
Yeah, for sure.
So easily get drowned by everything else, which you don't want it for that game.
But
beep. Breaking news, Collin.
Yeah, yes, Curtis. Go.
Just one more piece here. Things have started to slow down a little bit, but I do want to add. So at the end of the Demon's Souls trailer, there was an asterisk. The asterisk mentioned that it would also be coming to other platforms and PC. That trailer has since been taken down. So we don't know. No one knows.
Well,
my guess is at least PC. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe the other consoles part will be removed. Maybe the PC part will be removed. Nobody knows.
Stadia.
Yeah.
PC. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I didn't even Didn't even notice that originally.
I didn't either.
Um,
I think I was like too beside myself.
Yeah, I gotcha. But something else coming at launch. So again, we're just talking about our how we're doing in the moment. Saw these like green fields. And I was like, this looks kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, that looks all right. Like, is this like some other kind of like Breath of the Wild looking thing? Yeah, Immortals.
Yeah, it was like Immortals.
Like some other kind of thing. And then they show the sky, and then they show the big old party bus, and I'm like, oh my lord.
Hey, if Apple don't want them.
That's true, yeah. Essentially, I think what this trailer is showing is Unreal 5, Fortnite and Unreal 5. That's my guess. Not in Unreal 4 anymore.
Unreal 5's a ways off, though. Do we know if... I mean, I think they mentioned that Fortnite was going to use it, but do we, like, I don't know.
Okay, so then maybe it's just that. Maybe it was. I guess I thought it looked better, so I thought maybe it was Unreal 5. But
well, I mean, yeah, I imagine it will, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's launch.
Like, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Call of Duty, right? Like, you got to have it in there.
Yeah, I think even like Warzone is like the free-to-play Call of Duty stuff is launch also, so they're getting all the... I think maybe even Apex was launch. I can't remember if they've said that before, but... Yeah, they're getting all the free-to-play stuff out at launch. So that was mostly it for the games. Kind of weird to like end on Fortnite. But we got one more.
And then the bombs started dropping.
Yeah, so they say introducing the PlayStation Plus collection, and immediately I'm like, instant game collection's back, baby.
Which it kind of is.
Kind of is, yeah. So I'm trying to remember all of them, but. They show like God of War.
I have them all. I have them all written down. So
yeah,
I'll just,
you do.
Yeah,
let it go.
I like. I'm very proud of myself because about 5 games in, I was falling behind, and then they decided to show a little bit more of Uncharted 4 than the other games, and I caught up.
Nice, good job.
So I actually really quickly I wanted to look to see if they posted on the blog about this because I'm curious to know if this is a higher tier PS Plus. Like, I'm curious to know if there might be a price differential. It's not been mentioned yet. I don't see any posts about it. So, all right.
So
let's go down the list.
I'll say this first. When I saw collection, I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing that molds PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus together.
That's what I thought too.
And it didn't seem to be that, but
no.
Let's hear the games.
What I mentioned earlier about competition being good, like this really feels like the direct result of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a long time ago we had a PlayStation Plus instant game collection that was arguably the best deal you can come by in video games. That went away, and then Game Pass happened. And Game Pass, to this day, I don't think you can make any kind of good argument that Game Pass is not by far the best deal in video games at the moment.
Right.
If it wasn't for the fact that I really like Demon Souls and PlayStation-specific exclusives, and I guess now Final Fantasy, like the $300 Series S and Game Pass, you cannot beat that. You just can't.
Yeah.
However, it is really nice to see this PlayStation Plus collection, which is all coming at launch on PlayStation 5, including
I am cold
games
right before you go. Right before you go,
Yep.
I will say I feel like I want to interrupt you each time to tell you that if this game was already on PlayStation Plus before, because if somebody probably like you and me who redeems the games every month, it's probably not that great in a way. But
good point.
But just read the list because there's a lot in here that have already been free on PlayStation Plus before.
God of War.
Not free.
Bloodborne.
Yes.
Okay. Monster Hunter.
No.
Monster Hunter World.
It's not World.
Final Fantasy 15.
It's on PlayStation Now though.
Fallout 4.
Nope.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat is not. Yep. Keep going.
I don't remember which one. I started not typing some things and
it's
just
Mortal
getting
Kombat
to title 10.
It's not 11. It's 10.
Okay. Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4 has been free.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank has been free.
Days Gone.
Days Gone has not been free.
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn has been free.
Detroit.
Detroit has been free.
Has it really?
Yeah, it was free because I've got it on my console.
I guess I resubbed to Plus afterwards. So
yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Battlefield 1.
It has not been.
Infamous Second Son, I'm assuming has.
That has been free, yeah.
Batman, Arkham Knight, I'm assuming has.
That's been free.
Last Guardian.
Last Guardian is not.
Okay, Last of Us Remastered.
Last of Us has.
Okay, Persona 5.
Persona 5 is not.
Okay,
So
and then
maybe
Resident
about
Evil
half
7.
then. Resident Evil 5. Yeah, Resident Evil 7 is not. It's on now
Okay.
right now.
Now,
So it's not
good
bad,
to
then.
know.
Yeah, it's not as bad.
But
still good ones.
the other key thing to note is that like those games were free for a month. And
Sure.
as long as you downloaded them, you have
Yep.
them. But
Yep.
if you didn't, you didn't. These are all free for an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah, just at launch. That's kind of, they didn't say how long per se.
And I need, if you have the trailer that's pulled up, when they showed Bloodborne, there was some text at the bottom that seemed to indicate.
Oh man, I'm scrolling back now.
I want to try and pull it up too. I didn't get a chance to go back and look, and I didn't see anyone mention it, but the text at the bottom seemed to indicate that it might be getting a little bit of a boost.
Okay.
And it was not the only one that had that text. I think I noticed it, but then I was busy typing.
I see under God of War and Bloodborne, it says PS4 and PS4 Pro captured footage shown as an example of PS5 experience.
Okay. Interesting.
That's
So
all
I guess
so far.
Okay. So not really anything there.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool though.
Yeah.
I'd be into that. Be a good reason to go back to Bloodborne.
Yeah. I'm glad this is coming back. The Instant Game Collection thing, the IGC, it's back, kind of. So I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, that's a great entry price. That you got this great launch lineup of games you can buy, but then you also have PlayStation Plus that you're probably going to get. And then here's, I mean, it's essentially what they did with, when PS3 was hitting its stride, and what they did with Vita like a year later.
Yep.
They're like, here's all of these games that are just, you buy basically PlayStation Plus and a Vita, and you get tons of these games. And that's what made me buy a Vita, was that.
Yeah, I think obviously, to me, this definitely feels like something. One, it's just good to have, right? But this, I think, the appeal is mostly probably to people who didn't have a PS4, and they are the market leader right now. So that is probably lower than the number of people who did have PS4. But if you're like, hey, I wanted to play God of War, I wanted to play Last of Us, I wanted to play Last Guardian.
Yep.
It's not Persona 5 Royal, but Persona 5 is also still really good.
Yep.
You can just jump in and have them. I think the one thing missing is maybe just because it is a new console, having having a PS5 specific game on this list. And that could still be the case, right? This is PS Plus Collection. Could totally still be the case that in November on PS Plus you can get Destruction All Stars, or you can get. Actually, that's the only one I can think of.
I think that would be
willing.
I think that would be a great Plus game. Destruction All Stars.
Yeah.
Be like a Rocket League Plus thing.
Based on what we've seen of it, we've not seen much of it, right?
Yeah.
So again, especially given the price of it, could be a lot more to that game than we think.
Sure.
And so maybe, I don't know, maybe Bugsnax, right? If Bugsnax is still coming out at launch, that game is probably $20 or something like that, right? 20, 30, maybe. So maybe that's a really good one, especially
don't forget about GTA 5 Online or something supposed to be free on. That was that first announcement last time.
So there was people speculating that GT 7 was perhaps a launch game. I think this definitely puts the nail on that.
Sure. Yeah.
So, with that said, let's talk about the last 3 things that I have written down here.
Yeah.
Technically 2. One is just 2 pieces of it. So, we've been waiting for the price. We're waiting to know price, release date. What is this going to be? We found out, was it earlier this week? Or was it last week? I don't even remember.
It was last week, I believe.
Was it last week?
Yeah, probably Thursday last week.
Yeah, so it leaked ahead of time. I think the plan was to have it be announced this week, but we learned the price of the Xbox Series X to be $500, and then the Series S is $300. The Series S is, I don't know. It is some amount. It is some amount less powerful than the Series X, but I don't know the specs enough to be able to say oh yeah, it's half of it or it's whatever. It is somewhere between the Xbox One X and the Xbox Series X. Between the two of those, it's somewhere in the middle. Maybe closer to Series X. I don't know. So we knew that. And so all that was left, the only final piece of the puzzle was like, all right, what's the PS5? And the difference being that the digital edition is the same hardware. There's nothing different there, which is like a key point. So we now know officially, I think I mentioned it earlier, $500 for the PS5 with the disc, $400 for the PS5 without the disc drive. Collin, which way you headed?
Definitely probably still going $499, going with the disc.
Okay.
I mean, I immediately saw. I honestly expected the disc version, the discless version, the digital one, to be $449. I think I would definitely say they're probably taking a loss on the digital one because really all you're missing is just the disc, the
sure.
Blu-ray drive. But I mean, then on the other hand, every purchase you make with the digital edition is going right to Sony. It's not going to different retailers and stuff like that. It's going to be straight through the PlayStation Store. Yeah, I still think I'm going disc. I mean, if I was to get a discless console, it would mean exactly what Xbox strategy is. Buy me some Game Pass, buy me a Series S. Yeah. There you go. But, as PS4, even PS3 before it, and now coming PS5 is my main driver, per se. Yeah. Still probably going to go with the disc version.
So I will say, I mean, man, 400 is really tempting.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is basically the price I expected. I think a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. I definitely feel like I saw a split of people saying 500, 400, and then the other half being like, it'll be 600, or it'll be 600 and 500, or 500 will be the cheapest, but it's definitely 550. And to me, I was like, part of me was like, there's no way. But then part of me was like, people sound kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But then wondering, maybe I was the crazy one. I mean, But the thing that always was interesting to me is, and you mentioned it, right, is a disc drive is probably $20 or $30.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's probably not that much. And I remember seeing people go why would it be 400 if it's just a disc drive? And to me, I mean, I don't know. My thinking of this, and I guess it's easy to talk about it now because it's true. Because it's that's what happened.
Yeah.
Is I mean, you take a big loss on it, knowing that the only time they'll ever buy games is directly from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're gonna get more of a cut than you would with the physical version.
Yeah.
Pour one out for GameStop.
Yeah, I know, exactly right.
Between this and the Series S, oof.
Yeah.
So I will. All of that said, I'm one of those bozos who's got a bunch of 4K Blu-rays sitting around.
Oh, don't say that. Yeah.
And I sold my Xbox.
At least you don't have HD DVDs around or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm kind of locked in. It's if I get the digital version, I just have to get a 4K Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
So and I think ultimately it'll always be nice to have that. I can see a day 2 years from now, Wario64 is on Twitter, and he's like, "Hey man, physical version of Demon Souls is Demon Souls Game of the Year edition with the extra costumes,
exclusive.
The Knack costume exclusive is physical on Amazon for $20." And I'll be like, well, I gotta have it. Mm-hmm. So it'd always be nice to have that option.
You buy the game, open it up, just redeem the code, and then sell the game back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just keep the game, because we've done that too. I think I have
put it up on the shelf.
I'm pretty sure there's at least, let's see, I'm pretty sure I have Bloodborne in the disc in a a 10 case or whatever. But I just have it digitally.
Yeah.
There's definitely that one. I remember that one because I had it pre-ordered, the physical version, deluxe edition, but I wasn't going to be able to get it until the morning, and it was midnight, so I just bought, it was 11 p.m. I just bought the digital because I'm I'm not going to wait. Mm-hmm. This is what you shouldn't do. So I asked Collin the next question, right? So I think we both are going with the big boy.
Okay.
Which I guess they're both big boys.
They are. One's a bigger boy than the other big boy. Though.
One's the bigger boy. What else? Do you have like a game plan? Like what are you getting extra accessories? You just going with the PS5 and getting some games? Like what are we looking at?
So you mentioned off recording. We talked a little bit about, I believe, the accessories and kind of the prices with those. I don't know if you want to read some of those off.
The breaking news: PlayStation 5 pre-orders. PlayStation 5 pre-orders at Walmart have gone live.
Whoa!
Wait, take that back. The page has been taken down.
Okay.
I repeat.
Pre-orders canceled.
What about the digital version? Yep, page has been taken down. Never mind. Please go back to our regular scheduled broadcast.
Yes. Okay. Do you have the accessories page pulled up and the prices for those? I know.
I'll be breaking news as well.
Oh, okay.
Demon's Souls is in fact a PlayStation 5 exclusive. The text at the bottom was a human error per Sony.
Don't you hate those human errors?
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
As I mentioned at the start of this, always sucks when. I mean, Demon's Souls is a bit different because, like, in this case, it is first party, sort of. Although Atlas, it's Demon's Souls is a particularly weird beast. In this case, like a little bit different, right? Always a bummer, but Demon's Souls will be out later this year.
Yeah.
Let me pull up that list again.
Yeah.
That one that you were talking about.
Yeah.
You have to give me a moment.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, even with the accessories and the prices you're going to read off, I was hesitant to buy a second controller. I was hesitant to buy the camera, and I don't want this to be like just a thing I did last time, because I did buy the PS4 camera that I have, like, that uses for like VR and stuff like that. Like, that is the PS4 camera I bought at launch. So I don't know if I'll go with that again. I mean, I will probably buy the controller and maybe the camera, the media remote, and the charging station I can do without probably for now.
So I've definitely like planned for a while. I was like, I really want to go all out on this. I've never, other than like handhelds like 3DS and Vita, I think I got at launch. Switch was the first console that I've been able to get at launch, and so for this as well, like, and with the Switch it was even like, I didn't really like have a lot, so I could get that and like a game, and that was really it. This time around, like, I'm looking to be like in a little bit of a better place, at least as of right now, knock on wood. So I've been really wanting to like go all out. So I do think like I definitely am gonna get another controller. Like, that'll be nice to have. I've not been able to really do that before, so it'll be nice to have a second one, especially for the games like Sackboy. And there will be other, the Destruction All-Stars, if that is local, which I guess we don't know necessarily. Sure. But Sackboy is a pretty good bet for that. Probably won't get that's a tricky thing, right? Like, I have the VR headset, but it is in the closet. And I don't really, like, feel like it's such a, to me, it's just always been such a hassle to, like, I mean, once it's plugged in, it's plugged in, but now that it's unplugged and not hooked up, I'm like,
hassle's a good
so I probably won't get the camera. I might get the charging station just because, like, it'd be nice to just have it there, like that, and any kind of accessories. Like, the controller feels like a must to get to the second one. Charging station would be nice to have. I was ready to be like, I'm going to buy the stand, but it looks like the stand probably just comes with it, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, it would be.
I will probably get every Sony first-party launch game.
Yeah, that's probably a lot more than you're expecting.
Yeah, I think Demon's Souls, Destruction All-Stars, Miles Morales, and Sackboy, like, all of those I absolutely will pick up. Which that in itself, the $70 price tag. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Or well, Miles Morales is $50. So two $70 games, a $50 and a $60. But then that's also combined with, I'm getting Kingdom Hearts. So
on Switch, of course.
Yeah. No, I'm getting that game on PS4.
Yeah, you gotta get that platinum in that game. You can't.
I gotta get the platinum.
You can't just get the My Nintendo coins. You gotta get the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
I've played every Kingdom Hearts game on a PlayStation console. I can't stop now.
That's true.
Godfall has been confirmed for November 12th.
Okay. Yeah.
Another one of those like kind of expected, but nice to have it confirmed. I will also be getting Godfall.
Oh, that's right. Your game, Godfall.
See, and the thing is, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, especially with the most recent trailer. I don't know if you saw. They put like a combat trailer, I think is what it was called, in the earlier this week, and it looks good. Like, I think that game looks good, and I don't understand. I mean, early on, I guess like the only way I'm able to rationalize it is just that like them calling it a looter slasher is so ridiculous and dumb that it just kills any momentum and hype for that game. But otherwise, like every time they show it, I'm like, yeah, man, this looks fun.
It's like the marketing's trying too hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they're trying to convey this message, but it's not.
I would
really
agree, and the trailers with, like, the random rap music and stuff have not worked for me.
Right.
The most recent trailer they put out did not have any of that. And it was just, like, combat, and I thought it looked really good.
Okay, good.
I'm curious if it's a $70 game. Like, I'm curious what the price of that game is.
Yeah.
Because the way they talk about it, like, when they first announced it, and they're like, yeah, it's a looter slasher, it's like, oh my god. No, please don't. No. But afterwards, I feel like they heard and they understood, like, oh, that's this. We should not be talking about this game like that, because people thought it was going to be like a Destiny or Avengers now,
right,
or Anthem or anything. And it's similar to Outriders, and even Avengers kind of course corrected on it as well, where they're like, no, it's a full game.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we promise it's a full, complete experience. So I'm curious to know what that means for Godfall, but
yeah.
Where
do you think we're sitting with Xbox and PlayStation? How do you think Phil Spencer's doing today?
He's probably just excited, I think. I think
probably.
I'm curious. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like both of them, I feel, have two very different goals.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not very different, right? Like, I think... I was thinking about this earlier. It depends on what you want. If you want, like... I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, I feel like almost anything you say is like you like come across as a fanboy one way or the other.
Sure.
But I honestly think like the best deal this fall is probably the Series S and Game Pass. And I don't think there's really any two ways about it. Like it just is.
Yep.
But and that's the tricky part, right? Is like I think the Xbox is building out an ecosystem that is very consumer friendly, and it is focused on giving you a collection of games at the cheapest price you can have, and not just like a random collection, like just a smorgasbord, like a really large size of a lot of really good games. And not just that, but also any Xbox first party game is just day and date free.
Yep.
Until like the PlayStation Plus collection for PS5, that's awesome. But until Sony's starting to give out Sackboy and Bloodborne, and Miles Morales free day and date, and Horizon Forbidden West and God of War, spoilers, Ragnarok, like until that is happening, like they're just not gonna match it. Yeah. And I don't think that will happen. And I think that's like kind of the beauty of Game Pass, is they are presenting a deal that they know cannot be matched or exceeded.
Yeah.
The twist on that, or the opposite side of that, is what if you're someone who really does like not really care about cross-gen stuff and really wants to get something that they know is going to have games only come out for that console and utilize it, right? Like, that Naughty Dog is going to put out a game that you're just like, this is real life. I can't believe how good this looks, right? Mm-hmm. That the next God of War is going to look unbelievable. And like Fable probably will as well, right? But we also know from Xbox that at least the first few years, they don't plan on, at least unless they've taken it back, like from what we've heard, is at least the next couple years, Xbox first party games will be cross-gen. Mm-hmm. And so there's that distinction of like, We want to create an ecosystem where you can play how you want to play. If you want to get the big beefy boy that has all the specs and be the most powerful console, you can do that. If you want to get one that's like still pretty beefy, but maybe not as beefy as the other one, you can do that at a really inexpensive price during a year where people probably don't have a lot of money to throw around, and and then you can do that, and you can pay, what is it, like $60 a year, and you just have an endless collection of games that continues to grow with new releases from Xbox. And like, that's ridiculous. Like, that is insane. And the only reason that I will not, like, literally the only reason I won't get an Xbox in November as well, probably like the Series S, right, is because I got an Xbox One X a couple years ago, and what I found is it is very, very hard to own a Switch, a PlayStation, and an Xbox, and spend time on each of them to justify each of them.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like, Switch is really great because it's mainly just Nintendo stuff for me. That's basically how I handle it. And then there's every so often there's an indie game that's exclusive to it. And like, that alone is enough. Like, that alone makes the Switch really, really awesome. And like, one of my favorite consoles. And so it's hard to have two others in addition to that, to justify it. Yeah.
I mean, I would still say, I think if you're Xbox, you've still got a pretty good, compelling argument, specifically just everything you just mentioned. But, I mean, I'm actually just I still actually have in our old docs, I put in the Xbox Game Showcase they had a couple months ago, their showcase per se. And they just don't have the games ready at this point. And I mean, Halo was supposed to be there, but I mean, you do look at even the rest of this year. I mean, you do have those Xbox Series S and X updates for like Avengers and Watch Dogs and Cyberpunk and all of those kinds of things, and even like Yakuza. But really, other than that, like, you don't have anything. But I mean, you can also do that on PS5. But I think really Xbox's argument, and I think really what his kind of said, because if you have a $500 X versus a $500 PS5, I would say the PS5 certainly wins in a head-to-head. But when you do have that cheaper $299 model of an S and with Game Pass, I think that does make that much more appealing. It's just, for me, I just feel like the games, and it's hard to say this without sounding fanboyish, and like we've covered PlayStation in our previous lives.
Sure.
And it's just,
and I do, like, I can't overstate enough that if I don't know, like, I don't really talk to family that much anymore, but if I had family that was like, I want to get one for your cousin or something, and I'm like, well, like, in my heart, obviously, I'm going to be like Demon Souls, but like, if Joe Schmo was like, hey, what should I get? I don't really, like, I'm not super attached to Uncharted or Bloodborne or God of War. I'm going to be like, dude, if you don't have a lot of money, like, if you're, because that's the other thing, right? If you don't have a lot of money, but you're like, I want them to have some games to play too. Like, and I think that's, PS Plus collection obviously speaks to that. But it's like, dude, you can't go wrong with $300. And I think, I don't remember, but I feel like, wasn't it $300? So they have like the subsidized deal too, where you put in credit. That's a little bit different. But $300, and let's say like it's called $60 for Games Pass for a year. Like, you're giving them hundreds of games, some new release, some old. But like, it's like, you cannot go wrong with that. I think one of the great things about this upcoming gen launch is, last time around, unless you were like a huge, like, only you really cared about Xbox first party, like, it felt like there was a clear cut decision, right? And obviously that changed. Xbox improved tremendously, leaps and bounds, more than probably anyone else over the last few years. But at launch, it felt like a pretty clear cut decision. I think this time around, like, no matter which way you go, I feel like you really can't go wrong. I think both consoles feel like they're pretty much poised, at least out the gate, to be starting pretty strong. So it'll be curious to see. And I think, I don't know, I've seen like polls online, like Twitter polls of like which one you're gonna get, and it's heavily weighed towards PS5. But it'll be interesting to see sales numbers towards the end of the year and see how close they are.
Yeah. Again, I did just watch the end of that interesting trailer. November 12th, again, we mentioned, is U.S., Japan, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea. And November 19th, the rest of the world. So...
Godfall you can pre-order on PC right now. On PS5 pre-orders, they said it's coming later. It is listed $50 or $60. There's like a special edition for $70.
Ooh.
Which I don't know. I just had it pulled up. I don't know what that includes. So there's a couple
Knack
editions,
costume, baby.
Knack. Oh, and the Knack. What do they call Godfall? They call like their armor something specific. I don't remember what. They have a Knack one.
What if?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
If only.
Yeah.
So there's a regular version for $60. There is Godfall Deluxe Edition, includes the base game as well as day one access to its expansion in 2021. And then Godfall Ascended Edition includes the base game, day one access to the first expansion, plus gold-themed digital goods to help you save a Pyrian in style, and that is $90.
Well, I gotta get it then.
Gotta get it.
I gotta get that gold arm.
So it does look like the Xbox, the Walmart PS5 pre-order pages have gone back up. Those are live, including a pre-order for the controller. Those are live again.
Okay.
So it looks like, I don't know. I mean, once Best Buy opens up, it's like all bets are off.
Yeah, and I don't know how much we want to get into this, or if at all, but like there was the Bloomberg report the other day that production was being cut, and then I guess Sony had denied it today. Are you worried about getting one this fall?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
hope not.
I don't know if I am. I don't know if I am because they were talking about like maybe the numbers may have been cut, maybe it wouldn't. But it still almost sounds like there's going to be more available than there were PS4s at launch. And even like PS4 sold, 7 by the end of the year in 2013 or something like that, 7 million. So I don't know. It just seems like there is still going to be more PS5s available than PS4s. And I feel like you would probably say back in 2013, people were more hungry for a new console upgrade than I would probably say they are in 2020.
You would say that, but it really does feel like for as quiet as Sony has been generally in the lead up to this console, like if they just blinked, the numbers that they were getting on like Instagram posts and if you look at the numbers on this live stream from today, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily equate to 15 million, right? But it does feel like the excitement is there.
True. Yeah.
It's just they haven't really been talking about it too much. Couple things I want to point out. So one, I think, I mean, I don't know. My hope is that it's like, that it's a pretty easy process. Pre-order's done. That's it. And I'm locked in. To me, it's more, I'm curious how it will play out. Let's say Best Buy goes online and get my pre-order in. Can I do an in-store pickup? What does that look like?
Oh, sure.
Is it, do I drive up to the store? Like, so a few months ago, I bought a sound bar from Best Buy, ordered it online, did in-store pickup, or not, it was curbside pickup. So what happened, and what I thought, at least the Best Buy I was near, had a really good system, and maybe this is what they do for launch of these consoles, or although I don't even know how that's possible, because in my case it was 2 cars in line, but for a console launch it'll be like 15, and that would be insane. But basically, I drove into the parking lot. They had cones. They had it sectioned off in a certain area. And so it was like a drive-through. And you just drove in. Some people waved you on. They asked, like, someone walked up and she was like, "What's your name?" I gave her my name. And she's like, called into her walkie-talkie to the person in the store. She's like, "They'll have it out in just a moment. Drive right up." And I'm like, okay. So I drove up and this guy walked out with the box, put it in the back seat, and I was on my way. So I don't know if that will happen, but
yeah.
So I'm curious, right? Like obviously, if I pre-order, like I want to make sure then, and let's say it's delivered, I want to make sure it's here that Thursday. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. One other thing I wanted to add. So it would appear that there is in fact no confirmation of anything beyond a PlayStation 5 version of Final Fantasy 16, PC or otherwise.
Okay.
So the quote is, we have no further information on if Final Fantasy 16 will be released on platforms other than the PS5.
Yeah.
This is despite, so the trailer from the stream included also available on PC asterisk. Mm-hmm. The uploaded trailer has no such thing. Oh, okay. And the press release, it does not mention anything other than PS5.
Yeah.
So some unclear information coming out after this. Feels like that is pretty common. With Sony or otherwise.
Yeah, and I feel like with there was a Microsoft thing that was exclusive at one point. It wasn't Rise of the Tomb Raider, but it was. I can't remember what. Maybe it was like when they did Dead Rising 4 that like people are like, oh, is this coming to PlayStation 4? And like, oh, we're just not talking about that today, or something like that, or you know what I mean? Like we're not talking about any other platforms at this moment. So I don't know. That might be just kind of normal.
So like specific games are now being going up on Walmart for pre-order. So Spider-Man, Demon's Souls, stuff like that. So nice. Cool. So it actually looks like maybe as the night goes on, we might see Amazon, Best Buy, and other websites start taking pre-orders too.
Oh, and I'm sure when we get done recording, something other crazy is going to be announced.
Something else.
Like, oh yeah, by the way.
We forgot.
Yeah. But other than that, we had Jim Ryan come out. I thought that was when he was going to say, and we're very excited for pre-orders to go live tonight or something like that. But nope, didn't say anything about that.
I am kind of surprised. So I was expecting it to be next week. I was expecting them to say, and we'll start pre-orders next week. Let's call it the 23rd, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly a week from now, because Xbox pre-orders start on the 22nd, which is a week after when they were planning to announce it. And I just thought, I was like, they'll say a week. So I actually am surprised it is this soon. That's nice. I wanted to just, for me, beyond the price, like I'm happy the price is what it is. It's what I expected. It's what I'm okay paying. But also at the same time, I was like, I'm going to get it no matter what. I just want to know when. Just let me pre-order and get that part over with. Right. That way I can stop worrying about it.
Yeah. Just punch me in the face with your $500 and just let me have it.
It's like I tweeted before this showcase. Just show me Demon's Souls and tell me when.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did both of those things.
Yep.
Which is nice.
We did get
very, very, very kind of them.
Yeah, exactly. We did get a final little teaser that
sure. So Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
What
a guy.
This
Gran
guy
Turismo.
Here,
Who wants to play that?
He's like there you have it. Now you know when it will be out and the price and blah blah blah. He's seen some games, and he does his like, well, let's just take a look back at some of the things you saw.
Yeah.
And then instead of doing that...
Yeah, we said a quick look at something else. Because it made it sound like, hey, let's look at a sizzle reel. But then, there was...
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And then there was like, hey, let's talk about new God of War. Or let's just tease the next God of War. So it's Ragnarok is coming was the, like...
Tagline.
The word. The tagline, the words on the teaser. I think generally the expectation is the name would be God of War Ragnarok. Or something.
I bet it's just God of War 2. Honestly,
that'd be cool.
I think they go with that.
Actually, maybe not. Like, because it's like the Call of Duty Modern Warfare thing. Like, just don't.
Yeah.
So we if you played the recent God of War, you knew that like it was leading into Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. The surprising part of this, other than the fact that it's here, is. They're claiming 2021.
Good way to put it.
So, yeah. So 2018, right, is when...
Yeah, it was like February 2018. No.
Was it February?
It was February.
No, it was definitely March.
It was February 20th. Or no, not February. April 20th, because it was 420. That's it. Yeah, it was 420, because Labo came out the same day. That's right. Just know these things weirdly. Okay,
yeah, of course. So April of 2018, so that's about 2.5 years since that game came out. So that would be a 3.5 year development cycle.
Yeah, or so.
I mean, sure. Do we remember? So if you, this goes back, and I could see if I could pull it up. But years ago, they on the PlayStation blog they posted a story about Cory Barlog returning to Sony Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And the tone of the blog was like, it's like Ocean's 11. He's putting together the dream team, and they're gonna make this crazy game. And that game was God of War. Do we remember when that post happened? Because like you could then, I guess, speculate like how long was that game in development? Was it 3.5 years?
I think it was like more like 5, because I want to say at like. It was also some weird thing because the game actually got leaked like years before, because Corley, that year at PSX, I want to say they had a panel and Cory Barlog was just like, yeah, well, when we're currently working on the new God of War, and like basically confirmed it at that point, and it was a long time ago.
August 9th, 2013, back at Sony Santa Monica, creating something, quote, huge.
Before the PS4
so about, let's call it 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Now granted, that's needing to build that game from the ground up. This is a sequel, in theory, be a little quicker, but we'll see. I don't think we would be alone in saying that we do not expect this game to come out next year.
No way does this game come out in 2021. No way.
Yeah, I would be stunned. I will say, so like, if for no other reason that I feel like we're going to see a lot of games get delayed next year.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
I think the point that I saw months and months ago, and the thing that has stuck with me since, is like there are games supposed to be released next year that there are just inherently things like motion capture that will not have been done, that will need to be done, that cannot be done.
Yep.
Until the pandemic is somewhat better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that alone is going to cause stuff to get pushed. And I feel like, this year, I feel like we've been pretty unscathed, right? Like any of the things that have been pushed, I feel like just would have been anyways. Because I think it just makes sense. Like Demon's Souls, legitimately, I am shocked, made launch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like usually it's like the games like Infamous Second Son, like the games that are like, yeah, like this is early, it looks really good, but like it's not going to be able to hit launch. That's just too crazy. Like I'm actually shocked that Demon's Souls is a launch title.
Oh, me too.
Now that could change.
Yeah,
that could change a month from now.
That's true.
But I really do think that like I think Horizon gets pushed into fall or something, right? And I think God of War maybe is early 2022. Like if Final Fantasy 16, if they came out and said that was next year, I would be like, that's not coming out next year. Yeah. Like,
and then of course there's Ratchet that's supposed to be launch window, and Ghostwire and Deathloop and
I would have said, I almost would have been like, hey, like given what we've seen of Ratchet, that makes more of a sense as a launch game than something like Demon's Souls, but not so.
Yeah.
Not so.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to that, I just saw it. I was thinking of another game. Like, Gran Turismo, when's that going to be there? And it's really kind of crazy, the lineup they've got here. Yeah, and basically the show ended after the God of War little teaser. Of course, one last little thing.
Someone tweeted.
Oh, go ahead.
GameStop started pre-orders in store at 6 p.m. tonight.
Oh.
For PlayStation 5. They said that their local GameStop had 10 disc, 2 digital, and that they are sold out. Yeah, at this point, I'm just waiting.
I guess I better go after this.
That's the route I want to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, maybe tomorrow morning, they're like, oh, we got more.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, other than that, they showed the little sizzle reel that gave us a little bit of gameplay into some things. I want to say one of them might even have been like Solar Ash. I felt like there was like a little bit of like extra shots in there.
There's a lot of like indie games that we saw in the original and the other showcase.
Yep.
That showed up. So and yeah, like there's I'm blanking on some of the names, but there were some indie games that were in the showcase before that were in this little sizzle reel that are also supposed to be launched.
So things I'm thinking of, Little Devil Inside.
Yeah, so I don't know if we have a date on that,
Okay.
but that was there. It was like Jet
Yeah,
something.
Jet the Far Shore. That was the
That's
Super
supposed.
Brothers game.
They said that that's holiday
Okay.
this year. Although again, that could change. But
Bugs,
that's what they said in June.
Bug Snacks.
Bug Snacks is supposed to be later this year. Last we heard.
They showed Stray, which is that cat game. That was from Annapurna. And then that's about. Goodbye Volcano High. I don't think they showed anything of that.
Yeah.
Then Kenna, which you said got delayed. Other than that, really Project Athea, which was of course the Square Enix game, but that's about everything. Pragmata was the Capcom game you were thinking of. That's
what it was.
It's 2022.
What did I call it? Strata.
Yeah, something like that. But they were in space. Strata. I don't know, man. So I guess to end on a question to you, is there an opportunity for an October event? Or does Xbox
we haven't
and Sony just don't say anything until launch?
Event? No. I feel like we said I feel like the expectation after the last showcase was like, all right, they've spilled the beans, we've seen the hardware, now it's just going to be news. Like now we're just going to keep getting stuff. And then it was pretty like silent. Mm-hmm. And I do think the pandemic probably has a large reason for that. And I think really, like, I imagine that both Microsoft and Sony are like, we need to wait until we know.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, up until, we found out, like, the price of the Xbox and we started to hear rumblings that, like, yeah, the PS showcase is coming up pretty soon. Up until then, I really thought, like, these things really might just get delayed. They might just not make it this year. I could still, like, up until then, I was like, I could see that happening. And so I do think part of it is them just being like, we need to make sure that we have stuff that we can, like, we know we can hit it. We know we have the games that will hit it and be ready. Like, we need to make sure, because it's a different world, right? People are working remote. I do think, and I would hope, that now that this is done, now that we have the price, now that we have the date, we have got launch games for at least the first party side, and then there's a few other like third party games that have now confirmed launch today, right? Godfall being one of them. I would hope that at this point, now it's like, all right, we're 8 weeks out, something like that. Now we can just start like talking. One major thing that we have not seen, and I think at least like a blog post with a video with like Eric Lempel or someone, is the UI.
Yep, UI, exactly. They teased it last time.
They did.
Remember that? Yeah.
And I'm actually pretty, like, I'm a little surprised that we did not see anything today.
I agree.
So we haven't seen the UI. We haven't seen, I mean, there, like, the UI for sure. I feel like there's gotta be, again, I'm surprised the showcase wasn't framed this way today. Is like, Xbox has done a really good job of doing like a system teardown. They've let people like show how quickly you can get in and out of games, and that's supposed to be one of the PS5's big selling points, and we haven't seen that. So I would think, I don't know if a showcase happens. I am sure it probably is just a mess to put something like this together, given working remote in that situation. But like, I feel like now it's like, okay, let's see the PS5 teardown video with Digital Foundry. Let's see maybe some extended gameplay for Sackboy, for Destruction All-Stars. Let's see
the Demon Souls cover story.
A UI walkthrough.
Game Informer
Demon Souls
story.
is the Game Informer October, or November cover story, I think, technically, right? Because they're always a month in advance.
Yeah, that's true.
What else? Miles Morales, I almost feel like you don't need to show anything more.
Sure.
You're good.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? Yeah, so I definitely think, like, maybe starting next week, going through October, you can totally have, like, just videos, like, just, like, system-specific videos, system teardowns, UI demonstration. Maybe you have, like, a walkthrough of the store. One thing I'm curious about is, so when the PS4 was launching, I do not believe, I'm pretty sure this is correct, like, digital games were not as, like, just day and date as they are now. And I don't think that there was like... I think PS4 definitely started that, but with the PS3, that wasn't necessarily the case, if I remember correctly.
It was later on.
But now it is.
But yeah, now they're not.
And so I wonder, like, is there a world where I can go onto the PS4 store, or onto this PlayStation store through the PS4, or the PC, or like just the desktop PlayStation store on in my Chrome browser, and like, can I go on there, pre-order PS5 games, and just pay for them? And then just like they start downloading as I'm going through system setup or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Obviously you can't get them preloaded on unless you're like, I don't know, unless you're one of the special people that get emailed to buy directly from Sony. Maybe
sure.
they can hook you up.
We get to preload what game you want on there. That's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe, I don't know, like, will that happen? Like, will they just start putting up PS5 versions and just say, yeah, like you can pay it now, and then, you know, once you start setting up your console, it'll just start downloading for you. I don't know what the benefit of that would be. Maybe it just saves you some time instead of like going through and buying things. Like, but just some random thoughts.
One thing I'm still very concerned about, and you can thank the Wii U for this. I don't know why, but like when I anticipate putting a PS4 game in my PS5, I just feel like it's going to be like when you put a Wii game in your Wii U and it just booted up a back-end system that looked like a Wii. You know what I mean? Back then. And so I'm worried that like when you put in a PS4 game, it's just going to be the PS4 interface. Like it's going to be like, oh, okay, now launching PS4 mode on your PS5. And it's like
the Wii,
same thing.
The Wii U.
That's what I was just saying.
The Wii mode.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
was that?
I was looking at what stores are having pre-orders at the moment.
Oh, okay, that's okay. That's what I was just comparing it to.
That is my bad.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Remember the Wii U? Anyways. But yeah, that was exactly.
Maybe it's fitting that my reaction would be that.
No, it's okay. Anyways. That's what my reaction is going to be. Like it's that other shoe to drop. Like,
well, maybe it's the $70 thing. Maybe that's the other shoe.
That, or guess what? You actually need proprietary memory cards to play your PS5 games, or so, you know, like whatever the heck.
Yeah.
Whatever they're gonna think of. It's Sony. They know how to destroy a launch weeks in advance. I don't know.
Oh, Vita.
Wi-Fi exclusively with AT&T. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that's been it. We've been at this for 2 hours in a 43-ish, I don't know, minute showcase.
Yeah.
I think they did
the only way we know how.
We got to keep going. We got to get longer than Game Explains reaction. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with what they showed. Again, it's so hard to be like, oh, I wish they would have shown Silent Hill or something like that when you're getting all of these things, and you had Shenmue, and you had Last Guardian, and you had Final Fantasy VII Remake, you've had Half-Life Alyx, you know, whatever the heck. Like, it's hard to feel like you want more. But I think it's good we finally got that Hogwarts game finally out there, and finally talk about that now. Final Fantasy 16 as well. I mean, and it was good to see more Resident Evil, and such. So, but I will certainly be on that Call of Duty alpha on Friday. You betcha.
Yeah.
But any other parting thoughts, Curtis? Send us. Get the hype train still going.
So, when you pick up your new Xbox, or you pick up your new PlayStation, whatever it may be, you're going to have just an embarrassment of riches in front of you to choose from. You'll have your Demon Souls. You'll have your, I think, Gear Tactics is at launch.
Yep.
You'll have your Cyberpunk's just a week away. But don't forget that the one thing that you will have at the end of that week, and the thing you'll be able to just sink into, you'll get nostalgic with it, and it will prepare you for the future like no other game can, is November 13th, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories is releasing, and it'll be playable on both of those consoles. Or actually, no, it won't. It will be playable on the PlayStation 5 and the Switch.
Me. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I got.
The Nomura prayer has concluded.
Avengers will be playable. It'll run better, and probably hopefully the load times will be significantly shorter because, woof.
That sounds rough.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I'm enjoying it. Load times are rough, but that's all I got, Collin.
Well, have I got a console for? Never mind.
Just message me when the Best Buy pre-orders go up, and I'm ready to go.
We'll be back on for that. I don't know, but Curtis, it's so good to hear from you.
Join us for the next showcase.
Yeah,
of course.
I haven't heard from you in your sultry voice in a while, so it's good to get back on here with you and talk for 2 hours or more. I'm sure we'll be back for
anytime
Resident Evil Village or Final Fantasy 16 or Kingdom Hearts.
So we definitely should. We should definitely do. I think we definitely need to do like a week after PS5 comes out.
Sure.
Just like a launch chat.
Yeah.
Launch check-in.
Curtis is going to be like, I had this, I was playing that, and I'm just going to be like, yeah, I didn't get one. That sounds cool.
Well, if that happens, then maybe we should.
I know. Yeah.
But if we both get one, I can talk about Demon Souls.
I'll talk
Godfall.
about Spider-Man and Black Ops or something.
You can talk about Spider-Man and Spider-Man, and we can both talk about our adventures in. Why do I keep forgetting the name of this game?
Destruction All-Stars.
Destruction All-Stars. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, we're gonna be live on Twitch. I don't know about that. But again, Curtis, thanks for joining me. I'm probably going to go run to GameStop or something just to make sure if I can get one. Thank you. I probably will need it fighting off people for that.
Godspeed. Wear a mask. Be safe. One last thing.
Whoa, hold on. Is Curtis come in?
Beep. Collin, I'm standing out here outside of the manufacturing facility of the PlayStation 5 boxes.
Oh, okay.
The retail box of the PlayStation 5. So this is interesting. Oh man, what a bummer.
Is it a big boy?
I kind of like. It's a big boy. Let me link this to you.
Okay.
We should put this in the show notes.
Okay, sure.
Put show notes together.
Yeah.
People will have seen this well before, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So there are two. There's a white one and a black one, basically. For the disc and the digital. It has an 8K logo on it.
Ooh.
I like it.
Okay.
It's slick. It's simple. It's nice.
I do like that box. It's a good looking box.
Yeah, it's a nice box.
If you've seen those Xbox boxes, they big boys. Ain't that the truth?
They're also big boys.
Yeah.
I like the Series S box. I'm not a huge fan of the Series X box.
Right. Yeah. I agree
it's like super zoomed in. I'm like, it's alright.
Yeah. Yeah.
Series S one though.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably put this in. I'll probably put maybe like this image in the video if I can. So, again, you probably will see this by the time you watch this. But again, thanks so very much for watching, everyone, or just listening, having it on in the background. We'll be back at some point to talk more video games. Does Xbox respond? Does Nintendo have a Direct finally? Just have to wait and see.
I don't think Nintendo's having a Direct for the rest of this year.
Wait for the Nintendo Partner Showcase September coming tomorrow. I don't know.
They got one tomorrow.
I know.
Monster Hunter.
Yep, they got. Oh, that's it. Maybe Monster Hunter, more Puyo Tetris 2, more Kingdom.
It'll
Hearts.
be the rumor. The rumor is Monster Hunter and Monster Hunter Stories 2.
Well, I don't care about either of those.
Stories was fun. I liked Stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. Maybe.
We'll see you later.
Bye.